Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and it's been a week.
It's been a year this week.
Right. One of my coworkers asked me how I was doing today, and I said, "Is it July?" And he said, "No." And I go, "Well, then I'm not doing great."
Well, how was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was lovely. It was really nice to just have a day that I didn't have to do or be anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was don't get a lot of those.
Do you have a lot of good food?
Oh, yes. My mom's a really good cook.
Nice. One day I'll come have her cook for me.
She said thanks from across the room. No, we had turkey and we had mashed potatoes and stuffing, obviously. Those are like the big three. Then we had squash and sweet potato casserole and Brussels sprouts and cranberry sauce and like bread and butter.
You didn't have any green bean casserole? Oh, that's my fave.
No, we did not.
Mm.
How was your Thanksgiving? Did you have actual Thanksgiving food?
I did not, but I had an excellent day. My pal Rachel was in for the weekend. And so we did the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which has been on my bucket list since I was born. So that was super cool. And then we came home and took a nap. And then we had ramen across the street at the place your dad told you about.
Oh, I love that place.
Yeah. And then we were going to go eat ramen and then come back home and hang out with Sadie. And instead, I walked Rachel around the city for 2 hours and then brought her home.
So nice.
It was such a nice Thanksgiving.
That is a nice Thanksgiving.
It was very relaxing. It was so nice to take a nap. We slept for like 3 hours.
That's about as much as I sleep each night.
Me too, lately. Me too. That's why I took a nap before we started recording today, so I could be refreshed.
I did not. I am the writing advisor for the Future Cities team at our school, which for any of you who don't know what a Future Cities is, it's basically this like competition to design a future, like a city in the future, and 100 years in the future, and every year there's a different like premise that you have to like goal that you have to accomplish. And so this year's theme is a waste-free society. So we have to design a city with an entirely circular economy. And there's like a model that you build and then like an essay that you write about it and like a presentation and all these different components to it. But I'm the advisor for the essay portion, which is due next week.
So I think every school needs to get rid of their science fair and do this instead.
The thing is, my kids aren't taking it super seriously. And the other advisor is taking it super, super seriously. So you've got like him like taking it so seriously and the kids like not at all. And so I'm just kind of like, this is not a position I would like to be in.
I get that. But that's a great way for kids to learn.
But it's the whole concept of it is actually really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just like the model. Like we have to be able to explain how and why. And like down to the point where like today we were doing research on building materials that would work for our city because we have to be able to explain what we build things out of.
Ugh, I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
I do. I want every school to implement that right now. I would like to decree it.
Well, you can also volunteer to be the advisor for all of them because
I will do that with my 5 minutes that I have free.
Perfect.
Every month.
That's definitely how much time you need to do that.
I thought so. I thought it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Anything exciting other than working 100 million years?
Um, mm, I did a lot while I went and saw Chicken and Biscuits on Broadway.
I don't
Have you heard of
know.
it?
No.
It is so funny. Michael Urie was in it.
Oh, I love him.
Me too. And I think he also has a new Christmas movie out, which
Yeah, it's called Single All the Way.
that's the one. I'm gonna watch it tonight. And it's about this like
It's supposedly premiered on Netflix today.
that's what I
but
heard.
I saw it on my Netflix queue like a week ago.
Was it like they're ready to play or was it like coming soon?
I don't
Because
know.
sometimes they do that.
They do sometimes do that. That's true. Yes, but it premiered on Netflix today, according to the internet.
I'm gonna watch it because I'm also doing 25 Days of Christmas on our Instagram to promote that again at Death and Aliens. And
which I have a suggestion because I watched it the day after Thanksgiving, and it was exactly as predictable and horrible as you would want an ABC Family, like Freeform, whatever
love
Christmas
it.
movie to be. But it was called Same Time Next Christmas.
I haven't. Is it on Netflix?
It's on Hulu.
Okay, I have that.
And it stars Lea Michele and Ryan Greenberg from One Tree Hill.
Which one is he?
Gosh, I don't know. My sister was very obsessed with the fact that he was in it.
Look, I watched one random season of One Tree Hill, not the first one. I did watch the first one too, but I went back and watched it. So I don't know their names.
Jake.
Oh, I know this guy. I've seen his face. Okay.
And Charles Michael Davis, who was played Marcel in the originals. You know how I feel about my vampire boys.
Oh, I haven't finished that one. I started that one 1,000 years ago.
But
I know him too.
Yeah.
I know him too.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even care what the plot is. I will just watch the three of them do anything.
Well, we watched after we saw the Rockettes on Sunday. Me and Rachel watched Love Hard, which has Nina Dobrev in it.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Was it? My other sister watched it. So it was me and my two sisters and my mom trying to pick a movie. And then my sister who was in town, who was on the podcast on Wednesday or last Sunday, I don't know, whatever day her face popped up. She and I were trying to pick a movie. And then my other sister was like, if it's on Netflix, I've probably already seen it. I was like, could you not just sit at home by yourself eating cookie dough out of a tub and watching every single Christmas movie so that I have nothing to watch with you?
That's my plan for this month. That sounds excellent.
Well, speaking of excellent, just kidding. I don't know that this episode was really excellent.
It was excellent because Roxy's back. And I missed her so much.
Yeah. I was uncomfortable with a lot of this episode. I was also uncomfortable with the Amazon description because it's not true.
Are you going to read it to me?
Well,
I didn't read it.
I will. So this episode is Dead Like Me. Season 1, episode 9. It's called Sunday Mornings. It was rated 8 stars and premiered on August 22nd, 2003. Unfortunately, there is not a new song or movie yet, so it is still Crazy in Love and still Freddy versus Jason. So the blurb of the movie on IMDb says, George makes a new friend and discovers her dad is not the person she thought he was. Which is, I think, a fairly accurate description of this episode.
I think so.
The Amazon description says, George loses her virginity to her 19-year-old Mark. Only, no, she didn't.
No, she didn't. That is not a thing that happened.
So I was very perturbed by that. And I would like my money back. And by that, I just mean Amazon. What are you doing?
Right. I need they can hire me and I will write their blurbs.
Sounds good. It was directed by Peter Lauer and written by Peter Oko, who are both vets. They both have already done a bunch of episodes of the show. Our one guest star is AJ Cook, who is very famous. My mom's phone is ringing. If you have watched Criminal Minds, which I know you just started.
I did. I watched like 7-ish episodes.
So AJ Cook plays Jennifer Giroux, who I don't think she's in the first season, but she is one of the major characters. She's in it for like over 300 episodes. So, she also was in True Calling and a show called Higher Ground that she had a pretty significant roles in. So she's great. She's also the basis of 2 of our trivia facts for the episode.
Ooh.
One of them being that the previous installment of the series was called A Cook. And then the guest star is AJ Cook, which someone found interesting enough to put on IMDb as a trivia.
I like it.
And then AJ Cook and Mandy Patinkin worked together in this episode, obviously, and then reunited for Criminal Minds.
Excellent.
So that is
Love that.
stuff. Yeah. We start with a flashback to George in a diner with her dad. Like just having a day, being a daddy-daughter date. It was cute. They're playing.
So sweet.
They're playing like finger football with the quarter on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my dad has never done that with me.
Oh, I've definitely done that with my dad at a restaurant.
Definitely not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then we see that George is actually sitting in the Waffle House in her head, and the rest of the team is at the table, and Daisy is, being Daisy and trying to figure out why George is being so spacey. And Roxy is a sass master because she immediately says one of my favorite lines of the episode. She goes, because Daisy's talking about how it's not really any of her business.
Mm-hmm.
And Roxy goes, you always say something's none of your business and then continue to act like it is.
That is very true. And also, like, this is the first time we've seen Daisy and Roxy at all together. And it's like they've known each other for years. And I was like,
I appreciate it though. Which, granted, it's because the show works off the premises that we don't see them every day of their lives.
Yeah.
But the dynamic of how much Roxy hates everyone in a lovable way and how much Daisy hates everyone in a not lovable way might be my favorite dynamic.
Yes, I do like it. Although I think this would have been a good episode to preface Roxy not being in like 4 episodes.
Yeah. Again, she's just off doing her thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she was avoiding Daisy.
I would be. I don't blame her.
So they get their jobs, and George's job is at a college, and Mason says he's going to tag along with her. And they're all commenting on why Mason would go to the college. And Daisy says it's so that he can pick up a girl. And Roxy says so it's so that he can steal drugs. And I said, that sounds like every guy I know.
Yes. I was like, both sound right.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I mean, accurate for Mason, but like unfortunately accurate for a lot of people I know.
Right.
Ugh.
I could see that.
We get a flash to Reggie playing with the dog and her family or her parents looking at her. And George's monologue in the background is talking about how that moment after you die when your family kind of starts to return to normal, which is a sad thought. But it's also not. It's hard because it's like you think about like your own life and people that have died in your life and how like if you were still living in that moment of grief that happened right after they died, like you never would live your life. So like it's not healthy, but because she's alive and able to see it, it's kind of heartbreaking.
Right.
But at the same time, how heartbreaking would it be for her watching her family never being able to move on?
Yes.
It's a catch-22.
There's no winning situation here.
So then George and Mason go to the college, and George is opening up about her family to Mason a little bit because obviously her dad works at the college. So she's like telling him about her family. And
she's talking about like she starts monologuing about how sad she is, like she'll never go to college and she'll never do this. And I was just like, this is so sad. She never gets to experience any of these things.
And Mason says he never went to college because he hit his teacher in the head with something, but he can't remember what.
Yes. How long ago was it that Mason died?
1966.
Okay, so it's been a minute. Like
It's been a minute, but also it's been a copious amount of drugs.
I was just about to say that. I was like, aside from the time, it also has been a lot of drugs. So fair.
So then they're in a hallway seeing what, to be honest, okay, and this, I just got to get this off my chest. I went to college. I don't. I did some crazy things in college. I partied. I made decisions that I don't condone anyone making. I've never seen a hallway actually look like what they think college dorm hallways look like in TV shows and movies. Because like you could not be doing that many ridiculous things in the hallway and RA would stop you like immediately.
See, I never lived in a dorm. So and I never like did things at dorms. So I never saw them. I stayed in one the like night we went for like the summer pre-college event. And that's my only experience at dorms.
Yeah, no, I lived in a dorm my first 2 years and then an on-campus apartment my second 2 years.
See, I had friends who lived in on-campus apartments, but those were different because it was like 4 people lived there and that was it. Like,
right. But so I lived on campus for my entire 4 years. Never once did I see anything that even approximated. No, once. Because my school did this ridiculous thing. And I fully understand their logic in doing it. For our senior week, after it was like before graduation, after school had ended, so there was nobody else on the campus except seniors. I didn't even go there anymore. I graduated in December, but then went back for May graduation, so I was there. There's nobody on campus except for seniors. And rather than have us like be in an unsafe environment while drinking, they had what was called the Portka crawl. Portka was one of the apartment buildings. And every apartment who chose to participate had a different specialty drink in their apartment. And so we had a bar crawl through the apartment building. It was school sponsored and there were school security guards there to make sure no one got like actually ill. But then we just like bar crawled through this apartment building all night. And the shenanigans that went on there should not be legal.
Did you go to a Catholic college?
No.
Okay, I don't understand what's happening here then. I don't understand why this is allowed. I understand the concept. I do understand what you have explained to me.
Yes, but it was because if we were to go downtown and go actually bar crawling or like something like that, we wouldn't be as safe as if we were doing it in the contained environment of the school.
But doesn't that then put them up for a lot of liability? Like if people drink too much and get hurt and go to the hospital, if like there are accidents.
Yes, but anytime they sponsor an event for senior week, they're already liable for it anyway, even if it's off campus.
Right. I'm not used to things sponsoring senior weeks. We didn't have that.
Oh.
That's where I don't follow.
I think that might be like a Northeast thing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, they told us don't drink, don't party, don't do anything. And then we just
Right.
went.
My mom just made a good point. We don't have football games. We don't have homecoming. We don't have that like beginning of the year thing. The one like school sanctioned alcohol event is you're graduating anyway.
Mm-hmm. I see. Let's throw you out into the world drunk. I got it.
Yes.
I'm following.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It would be a very different, like there's no, and also like my school didn't have sororities. Like the theater kids were the closest thing to a sorority.
Oh, see, we had the like frat houses and stuff. That's where everybody partied.
No, we didn't have anything like that. So it was like, you guys have been good for 4 years. Just get shit-faced for one night and then never come back here again.
This makes more sense. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. But even in senior week in the Port Cacao, from what I remember, it did not look like this.
Yes. No.
But so while George and Mason are walking down the hall in utter chaos, they see one dorm room where a girl is patiently, quietly reading a Shakespearean sonnet, which again, unrealistic. To be that focused on the poem in the chaos that was existing.
Especially with your door open.
Right.
Like.
So then turns out she was doing it with a guy because she was helping him study. So that goes well.
Yes. Yes.
While that is all happening, George is still looking for the person she's supposed to be reaping. And it turns out it's this guy named Rich who's got a girl's number on a pink index card. And he's
so excited.
He has found the love of his life at a vending machine that sells Yoo-hoo, which don't drink Yoo-hoo from a vending machine. That's disgusting. No. And they both decided that after finals, they're going to run away to California because
going to San Jose.
They can't do college anymore. They just want to be happy and experience life.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, he's going to die.
Right, right.
And boy, the way he dies. Remember how we said that the deaths just keep getting more ridiculous?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This guy gets hit with a helium tank that has been broken and flung all the way down the hallway like a rocket.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
So George and Mason are quite rightly getting out of there because why hang around for that?
Right, right.
When Mason sees that our beautiful poetry girl has a closed door in the room she was in when he had clearly heard her say she wanted the door to be left open. So in the most noble moment of Mason's life, he picks the lock to open the door and saves her from being date raped.
Yeah.
But of course, because it's Dead Like Me, it had to also be a comedic moment because we could not think about date rape seriously. So Mason knocks the guy over the head with a fire extinguisher and goes, "I remembered what I hit my teacher with."
Oh, Mason. God bless him.
I wrote, oh, he's not all bad.
I know. I feel like every episode he does something like more noble or more good. Like he started off very intensely off the rails, but every episode he just does something a little bit better each time.
Yeah, except for that I have that note that he's not all bad, and then I have one note, and then my next note says, nope, just kidding, he's actually the worst.
Why? Why is he the worst?
Because of the faking getting a car to try.
Oh, he's just stupid.
That's why I was like, oh, you were the worst.
Like morally, he's like if you line up morals, like stealing a car is not great, but he steals things all the time. But he saved a woman.
He is like
so
100% chaotic neutral.
Yes.
Like he's not really a good guy or a bad guy. He's just chaotic. Like he is 100% chaotic neutral.
Because he doesn't really do things to hurt people, but he does a lot of quote unquote bad things.
Bad things. Yeah.
But he also does a lot to help people in surprising ways. So it's just like, I don't know.
But never in a way that makes any sense.
No, absolutely not. No.
I
love how he's like, you said it's red?
But so in the conversation where he is going to steal a car, they're talking to this girl, the girl that they rescued from being date raped, and just having a moment when we see George finally getting a friend. And I wrote, Charlotte is me. But then the reason I thought it was so funny that I wrote that Charlotte was me was because George immediately says, is it weird to decide someone's a good person because they're exactly like you? And I was like, I literally just wrote that was, got it. Yep. Apparently, yes, that is how I judge people.
Yes.
Of course, as the episode went on, I decided that Charlotte wasn't me because she's a little too dumb.
Yeah, you're very different people, but that's okay.
But in that first scene when she was talking about how, like, just talking about how there are nice people in the world and there are so many nice guys on campus, so she has no idea why she was hanging out with that guy, and it would be like her to pick the one guy who's a terrible guy, and now Shakespeare's sonnets are ruined for her. I was like, literally, this is me.
Yeah. Yes, that is fair. That is correct.
That part is all very me.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the rest of the things she says, not so much.
Not so much.
So then we go to George's apartment where she's sleeping. We're monologuing about what it's like to actually have a friend. And I wrote, why the fuck does Daisy still live there?
Yes, I just put it so cute. She's making a new friend. But also, yes, Daisy needs to be gone.
I'm so sick of Daisy.
Me too.
And we get our Roxy storyline for the episode. And Roxy is giving this guy a ticket, and he's a psycho, and he's yelling at her. And Roxy is a badass. She can handle it until he touches her. And she's like, the one thing you are not going to do is put your hands on me. So because, he's a douche, he just starts poking her.
I thought she was going to kill him right then. I was ready.
I did too for a second. But instead, she does something a little bit worse than killing him. And she rips his soul out of his body, yells at him while he's looking at his body standing there, and then puts it back in.
So I understand that it's against the rules to do that, but if I knew this was an option, so many people would need that. Yeah. You got to put him in line.
Right. I was like, that is the most effective way of fucking with someone I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then we go back to the Waffle House where Mason is reading Shakespeare's sonnets to himself.
Oh, Mason.
And actually, I vaguely remember this episode being when I decided that I was in love with Mason as a kid.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, mom, rude. My mom was like, oh, shocker. Anyway, um, so Daisy comes in and she sees Mason reading the sonnets and immediately knows it's for a girl, which
Well,
is
of course.
absolutely fair. But then she decides to be a little bitch about it.
I know. She is.
Which,
She's the
granted,
worst.
this is the thing that I had to say about Daisy in this episode. Nothing that she said to Mason was untrue. She just was so mean about it. Like, he can't fall in love. He can't fall in love with a human. He's undead. What's going to happen? Like, that's just not feasible. You can't spend the rest of your life with somebody when you're the same age for the rest of your life and they aren't. And also, you're dead.
Yes.
So, like, she was completely accurate, but so rude.
Yes. So unnecessary.
And then also unnecessary was Dolores in this episode because we go to the office and George is sitting at her desk and Dolores is like, hey, it's lunchtime. Like, you want to go to lunch with me? And she's like, sorry, I actually have plans. I have a lunch date. And Dolores just pulls up a chair and she's like, hey, it's okay to not want to hang out with me because I'm your boss. Like, you're allowed to want personal time, but we don't lie to each other in this office.
It was like she was giving her an intervention about lying about having
I've
friends.
been there. She said, being alone stops being something you're ashamed of and starts being something that you treasure. And I was like, Dolores, you got it. You got it.
Yep.
Only George wasn't lying. So there's that.
Right.
So then George goes on her lunch date with Charlotte and they're walking around doing their thing, hanging out. I wrote love to see it. George is having like an actual girlfriend who wants to go shopping and have a like manicure and like be her friend and not talk about dead people. And
good times.
And then she says, I don't remember what she ended up saying, but she was like, do you know what the worst thing it was? And George was like, besides almost being raped. And she goes, no, well, yeah, that too. But, and I was like,
no, that's the worst. That's the worst
when
part.
I realized, oh, no, we don't have the same priorities in life. Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
So then we get another flashback to George and her dad at lunch and or breakfast or whatever meal of the day it was, and he is reading sonnets to her. And I couldn't tell if she was engrossed or falling asleep. Because I think she was supposed to be engrossed, but the actress full on looked like she was falling asleep.
Yes. It made me think of my dad when I was a child because she was talking about how her dad let her have Coke at breakfast, and that was so exciting. And my dad used to work graveyard shifts when I was a tiny child, and so he would come pick me up from my Mimi's house, and he would let me have ice cream for breakfast sometimes because he was just so tired. And I would just be like, can I have some ice cream for breakfast? And he's just like, oh, sure. Have some ice cream.
See, it also made me think of my dad, but because my dad, too, also taught me obscure ancient poetry that was far above my reading level as a child.
My father did not, but he did introduce me to Charles Manson. So we watched a lot of serial killer documentaries.
Oh, I thought you meant like in real life.
No, he was in San Quentin when I was born. So
Fair.
Did not. We do have the same birthday. Well, not anymore because he died. But we did. Yeah.
So Charlotte's like, hey, I have this one professor who's really awesome. You should come with me to his class. Which I get that you can do that. but I went to a small enough school that you definitely could not do that, and it confused me. We didn't have like what do they call it?
Auditing?
Yeah,
They
well,
let
no,
you
they, I
audit
mean,
a class.
you could audit a class, but they didn't have like lectures that were big enough that you could just like walk in for one class and decide if you wanted to be in it.
Oh, they let us do that in college, but they like knew we did it. They were like, you're allowed to come in. And then if
Uh,
you want to stay, you can like sign up.
yeah, no, we definitely did not do that. I think like my biggest class had like 25 people in it.
That's how it
So,
was my first couple years, but there were definitely classes that had more.
um, so turns out this really awesome, intriguing professor is George's dad, which, based on all of the flashbacks, we kind of suck him.
Right. This has been the most we've seen her dad ever.
Yeah. And super awkward for her. I could not imagine like being in that position, like watching your dad, but like not being able to tell your dad that you're you.
Right.
And then she said something really sad. She said, I don't think, she's like, the Clancy Lass at this school and the Clancy Lass like at my house are not the same person. And I don't think any of us ever really knew my dad.
I was so sad when she said that.
And then they're talking about how sometimes you just become a teenager and you stop being close to your dad. And like she had a flashback of when Reggie was born and she was like, I just wanted a cat and they gave me a sister instead. And like her never talking to her dad again. And I was like, oh, so sad.
I know. I felt like it was very sad. I feel like, especially for us, like we like our dads a lot.
I know.
So we're watching this.
Yeah,
like,
like watching it, like knowing like that, like my dad's my best friend. I'm like, but
yeah.
also knowing that like when I was 12, my dad was my dad was my best friend when I was a little kid. Like when I was like 1, 2, my dad was a stay-at-home dad and my mom worked. And so like my dad and I were like this.
Yeah.
And then when I was like a preteen and a teenager, I full on hated my dad.
I mean,
but I also feel like what 13-year-old girl does it kind of.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
now I'm an adult and not a hormonal raging mess of unconnected brain cells.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my dad's my best friend again. So like knowing that pattern and knowing she just never made it to the part where she knew him again.
Very sad. I know. Yes.
Then we get a not so sad scene where Roxy goes back to this guy's car that she keeps ticketing. And he has full on created a religion dedicated to Roxy and thinks that she is Jesus.
Yes.
And this is why there are rules.
Mm-hmm. But she always gets away with it. Like, even when it's like, fix it, do this, it's never like, I'm not talking to you for ages. I'm not like, you're not in trouble for this. It's just like, anytime Rube talks to her, he's just like, you just have to fix it. And she's like, I know.
Well, she's also by far the most mature of the Reapers.
Definitely. But she breaks a lot of rules. Like, big rules too, though. Not just like Mason Still stuff. And you know.
But I also don't know. We never found out the consequences of her not killing that guy.
None. She had none.
Yeah.
She got away with it.
So then we're back at the Waffle House, and George and Daisy and Mason are there. And of course, Daisy is still talking shit about Mason liking this girl, because why not? And she gets there early to hang out. And she's like, ugh, I know I'm early, but like, and George is like, So then Rube and Roxy get there, and George goes, this is my stepdad and his wife.
I was like, if it's your stepdad, wouldn't that be your mom?
Your stepdad's wife? I mean, granted, depends. Because, like, my grandpa had a lot of wives in his life. And one of my dad's stepmoms, that is after her and my grandpa got divorced, we still called her grandma. Like, they still called her mom. And, like, it's still their stepmom.
Yes.
So, like, I guess if she had gotten remarried, it would be my stepmom's husband.
I guess that's true.
So, like, yes, but it's also, like, good thing Charlotte didn't question it.
She sure did not. She didn't question it for a second. And I was like, all right.
So then George and Charlotte are going for a walk. And I was like, George, how are you gonna figure out how to reap a soul with her with you? But she does.
I mean, I felt like, so they set it up as like how is this going to happen? But I was like, all you have to do is like touch someone.
Yeah, but then, like, she walked away. Like, usually we see them, like, guide the soul to where they need to go. And she just kind of was like, nope, keep walking. But also not how I thought that guy was going to die.
I know they always do this to us. They always give us this, like, Rube Goldberg effect of something. Goldberg.
Yeah, I think they play Mousetrap. Too many times as a child.
I agree.
Then we see Roxy and Rube having a conversation about how she fucked up.
I loved this conversation.
I did too. But my favorite thing about this conversation was actually the fact that in the Dead Like Me universe, it is canon that the Mormons only exist because somebody pulled Joseph Smith's soul out of his body and put it back in, and then he started the religion in order because he thought it was Jesus.
I thought that was so funny.
This is the best headcanon I've ever seen.
I was like, that's an excellent explanation, first of all. And I was like, they should have Book of Mormon on their show. I don't think it was written then, but that's okay.
But listening to Rube explain Joseph Smith, I was done.
Yes. I literally laughed out loud at work when it started talking about that. I was like,
me too. Me too.
Good times.
Then we go to George and Charlotte hanging out in the quad, laying upside down, watching people and saying they look like chickens. You know, just weird things.
Yeah.
And then they talk about her dad, and George is like asking if he ever talks about his family, and she's like, oh, not really, but like you can tell he's gone through some stuff. And she's like, I wanted to give him this poem, and she recites Shakespeare's sonnet. Now, she recites sonnet 71 incorrectly.
I knew you would know. I was going to ask.
And she doesn't actually recite it incorrectly. She just only recites part of it. And almost everything that is a published framed version of sonnet 71 is only that part of it instead of the whole sonnet.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gets the gist, but it doesn't actually mean what they made it mean for this context.
Yeah. Interesting. While I have read a lot of Shakespeare's sonnets, I do not know them nearly as well as you do.
No, technically all of the Shakespearean sonnets that they recited in this episode were the correct words. Whether they were using them in the correct context or interpretation is very debatable.
That's fair.
But she says something that I found very interesting, and it was the fact that, like, it's what she goes, well, it's what his daughter would want for him to move on. And they always say it's what she want, but, like, how do you know?
Exactly. I had the same thought.
And in this moment, we see that like that's clearly not what George wants.
Yeah.
And it's just a very, very, it's different when it's like someone that's really close to you. Like if my grandma told me something would be what my grandpa had wanted after he died, I'd probably believe that
Right.
she would understand. But like when strangers are just like, they want you to be happy. I'm like, how do you know they don't want me to be like stepping on push pins every day just to
Right.
a little bit of extra pain in my life? Like you don't know them.
I know. I started reflecting. I was like, have I ever said this to someone that I didn't really know? I don't think I have. After reflecting, I don't think I have. But I was like, that sounds like a very weird statement now.
Now that
Now,
like
anytime I hear someone say it,
this show makes you reconsider what you think about dead people a lot.
absolutely.
So George throws a fit and leaves. Obviously, that's what you do.
Right.
She's like, I broke up with her the healthy way. Just peace out. So Charlotte shows up to apologize. Mason also
Wait, before she walks in and she's knocking on the door, we hear Daisy doing something. And I was just
Vocal
like, what
exercises.
kind of vocal exercises are this? Like, what is happening? I've never heard those before.
I've never heard those exact ones before, but it's clearly a lip like exercise to get M's and N's and L's and like things. Yeah.
Okay. It was very strange and
Like-
loud.
Yeah. But I mean, that's Daisy.
I know.
That part didn't really faze me because I am in some ways closer to Daisy than I'd like to admit. Except for in all the pretentious ways.
Yeah.
So Mason also conveniently shows up at the same time, dressed in a suit.
Oh,
And
Mason.
George just says, "You're not coming with us."
She just looks at him and says, no. I was like, that's excellent.
And then
Oh.
there's this moment that broke my heart, but also made me laugh. Where Daisy's explaining to Mason why he can't be with this girl. And then she brings up the fact that he's a Reaper, but also she says she'll end up with a nice boy who wears a tweed jacket and has never done blow off a dead prostitute's belly.
I know. I was like, this is such a sentimental scene. And then it ends, and I was like, there it is. There's the kicker.
The worst part was my mom came up the stairs on the phone and I thought she was talking to my dad, so I didn't do anything. And then I realized it was a business call, and you have no idea how fast I muted dead prostitute's belly. It was a business call.
That is wonderful. Wonderful.
So then George and Charlotte are getting drunk, which both of them are underage, so that was interesting.
Right.
Which of course they're talking about getting ID'd and giggling.
So this brings up my question of, obviously she can get drunk because she's in a body, but
Yeah.
is she going to get drunk and tell Charlotte her secret at some point? That's one of my,
I'm about 98% sure we
Question.
never see Charlotte again.
well, that's fine. Never mind then.
It's interesting though, like because obviously like Mason does drugs and they like show them drinking, but they talk about how fast their body heals. So
Mhm.
like it just like you get drunk for a shorter amount of time because you regenerate faster. Like, is that how that works?
I would think so, because he doesn't seem to stay like high too long, except that one time that huge thing of cocaine
that
exploded
was
in him.
a massive amount.
Right. And still it was only what, like 24 hours, and that should have lasted
Yeah.
longer. But yeah, so probably.
So then Charlotte's like, you know what? I decided you were right. I'm not going to give the professor that poem. And George is like, no, you can do it. And from that, I was like, oh, this girl's totally in love with George's dad.
Yep.
Which, to be fair, I also had a crush on my professor who taught Shakespeare. So
I did not, but I did like my professor who taught Shakespeare. Just like
actually,
as a human.
I took two different Shakespeare courses. One was a reading only course, and then one was an acting course. And I probably
Mm.
would have stuck with either of those professors.
Probably best you didn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Good job.
I think they were both married, so definitely.
Yes.
Also, I hope my acting professor never sees this because I still am in contact with him and talk to him all the time. And it would not surprise me if he watched this just to see what I was doing. And then I just said that I totally would have phoned him.
Well,
But to be
now
fair,
he knows.
everyone in my theater department knew except for probably the teachers. I was very open about that.
Then your teacher probably also knew if that's the case.
Probably.
Yes. But as a professional, just acted like it wasn't a thing.
Professional. That's not a word anyone who's ever met him would use to describe him.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Never mind then.
So then Roxy goes to fix her problem and makes him rage, like Hulk out by squeezing his nuts so hard. What a
This
time.
guy was a hot mess of a person.
And solved that problem pretty quickly. If only that solved every problem in life. Like, you did something wrong. Here's the way to fix it. Just destroy a asshole man's nuts.
Yes. That would solve a lot of problems, I feel like.
It would.
Huh.
So then George and Charlotte take Clancy out to lunch. And Charlotte chickens out on giving him the poem. But George is like, do you ever think about your daughter?
It's like a way to be like chill about
Maybe
it. George.
subtle, right? And then
Yeah.
he actually basically says everything that Courtney and I were feeling about our dads. And it's really sad and sweet. And then Charlotte decides to like comfort him in a very uncomfortable way, which Mason sees her with George's dad and gets sad. And then
Mason.
we see Reggie playing with her dog, and Joy is sad alone in her garden, and everyone's just sad for a minute.
Right. I just
And then that's the end of the episode.
I put, if JD dies, I will cry, because she kept talking about like things passing on and whatnot, and I was just like, if you kill the dog,
that would be really cruel to kill the dog after only one episode.
well, I don't mean just after one episode, I mean ever.
Oh,
if he ever
like,
dies.
If he ever dies, I will be sad. Yeah, no, but I thought you were
I will
saying
be
like
sad.
in that moment you were afraid the dog was going to die, and I go, that would be a little excessive.
Yeah, no, I felt like they're just in that moment. I felt like they were going to kill him at some point. I was like, there's no reason for that.
No.
But they like to bring us down. So
yeah. So I don't have any additional trivia because I shared it all during the episode.
Mhm.
But I do have a funny moment that I somehow skipped because I didn't make a note about it except for in my head. Because it was in the scene where Daisy and Mason and George were sitting there talking about Charlotte before she got there, before the whole stepdad thing. And they were talking about, Mason was comparing himself to Romeo in Romeo and Juliet.
yes,
Which, as we know, I just taught to my students.
right.
And Daisy was like, maybe if this man had just masturbated, he wouldn't have been the way he was. And I was like, that sounds exactly like what my eighth grader said, only not. Because they didn't say that, but they said that. Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, and I laughed so hard because I was like, if it was appropriate to show them that scene, I would have. They would have appreciated it, but it would not be appropriate to show them.
But it
that.
is not appropriate. Correct. Correct.
hysterical though, because that is exactly how they feel about that play.
I mean,
And funny enough, one of my eighth graders today in Future Cities after school said that she shadowed at the high school she wants to go to. And the class that she was shadowing was reading Hamlet. And she was like, I just want to thank you because like I actually understood what was going on because you taught us Shakespeare and people don't learn that in middle school. And I was
oh,
like, yeah. And then she was like, did you know that in Act 3 is always when the big thing happens? And I was like, yeah. She goes, I figured that out.
congratulations, small child. You did it.
They do make me feel really happy about being a teacher some days. Like only in like the one-on-one conversations. Like when I'm trying to teach the whole
Right.
class, I'm like, I hate all of you. Just stop talking. But then when they like come to talk to me about things after class, I'm like, that's so nice. Like one of my seventh graders told me that if she still talks to any of her middle school teachers in 20 years, she thinks it'll be me. And then her mom emailed me later in the day and was like, she doesn't like to read, but like she's really happy in your class right now. And so I was wondering if you had any book suggestions for me to buy books for her. And I was like,
yes.
yes.
That's so sweet.
I'm good at my job.
You are good
I
at your
hate
job.
them, but I'm
Right. That's
but I
so
love
fair.
them. It's like I love
Yes.
them, but I hate them, you know?
Yeah. I feel you.
So who would you like to punch that's not my student?
The guy who tried to rape Charlotte.
Oh, yes.
Not a fan.
No, that was pretty horrible. I also would probably like to punch Daisy, which I know I say a lot, but particularly because I really think the lack of tact got to me this episode. Like, because she wasn't wrong. And she wasn't even a bad guy. She just didn't say it in a way that like was, it's like you're finally like not even on a side that I hate and you still can't do it correctly.
Right.
Or the guy who made up the Roxy religion.
I don't want to punch him in the face. I laughed too hard at him.
Yeah.
But he brought me too much joy.
Who's your MVP?
I think it's Mason. Just because I felt so bad for him this whole episode.
I think it's Clancy because it's the first episode where I haven't wanted to punch him.
Yeah.
Like, we finally got to see that he actually is grieving his daughter.
So that's fair and all. But if he's going to have this affair with Charlotte, it was hinted at. I don't know if he's going to follow through or not. Or if it's just her.
That's the thing
on
is though,
him.
because it's also been hinted at that he was having an affair with a male student.
Right. I also we don't know if he's gay or if he's bi or
if any of that's even happening or well, I mean, also I don't know because Amazon thinks that George and Charlotte did it, which I don't know when that happened.
No.
So yeah. But just because I was thinking about my dad, I think I would have to pick Clancy this time.
I think that's fair. Yeah, this episode was fine. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it wasn't, I mean, I still liked it.
Yeah. I like the Shakespeare stuff, obviously. I like that Mason is a sweetie in this episode. But yeah, otherwise it's just that's there.
Meh. It's just fine.
Yeah. So if you have any questions or comments or want to share a memory about your dad, you can get in touch with us on any of our social media. Send us Christmas movie suggestions.
Yes.
You can do that at Death and Aliens on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Gmail. And I think that's it for now.
Yes.
You can follow me at EMKAY_superstar on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and Discord, but really I don't use my Discord. So,
Yeah.
but basically,
Good plug.
or Tumblr, literally anything that exists, I'm probably on it with the same username.
Yeah. Me as well. At CE Cloud 13. That's where I am everywhere. Good times.
Good time. Yeah. You have too many social media accounts though. Because you have yours. And then you work on the podcast one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your Bookstagram. And then you have Sadie's Instagram.
No, that's the same one. She's just the picture for my Bookstagram.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's just so many. How would you keep track of 4 of them?
But I also don't think I've posted on my Bookstagram in like a year. Like I think the last time I posted was for last Christmas.
You just like things because I get notifications that you liked things.
Yes. I just like things. I just shuffle through my account sometimes.
That's fair.
Yeah. Usually on accident.
The number of times that I almost accidentally tweet things about my personal life from the podcast Twitter is a lot.
I believe it.
Yeah, we will see you guys on Wednesday.
Yeah, and happy December.
Yay!
All right, see ya.